Welcome back. With fall in the air, that means the cold of winter isn't too far behind. Before the winter era hits, the National Weather Service has updated some of its cold weather alerts. Meteorologist Connor Thompson joins us live from the weather deck built by Dan Brown Construction with more. Connor?
Thanks, Nicole. Winters in the southern tier feature the snow, the wind, and of course the cold. Ahead of this upcoming winter, the cold weather alerts are changing. And as the NWS explains, it's meant to help the public better understand the risks. Wind chill advisories, watches, and warnings were commonplace during the winter months. However, starting at the beginning of the month, those phrases have been phased out for new wording. While the names have changed, the thresholds have not.
We had the wind chills, wind chill advisory, wind chill warning. There's these thresholds that mattered, right? Once you hit minus 15 or colder, it's advisory level. Once you hit minus 25 or colder, it's warning level. What's changed is not calling it, it's not those numbers. What's changed is that it's temperature or wind chill.
Pellerito says this is a part of the service's hazard simplification initiative, which helps improve the NWS's own alerting system. With this change, Pellerito says the new name implies the danger of the cold.
Cold is cold. Doesn't matter if it's temperature or wind chill. If you are in, say, the minus 20s, wind chill or temperature, it is dangerously cold, and you need to take protective measures so that you don't have cold-related injury or even worse.
Pellerito says much like a heat advisory in the summer, when it comes to issuing a cold weather advisory, it will be about one thing, its impact on humans.
Warn for impact. That's the key, the impact on the human body. When it comes to winter, sure, wind chill is kind of related, but what has the real impact to the human body is extreme cold.
Pellerito says if the public has questions about the changes, do not hesitate to reach out to them to learn more about these changes. Reporting from the weather deck built by Dan Brown Construction, Connor Thompson, 12 News.